Shop smart, shop S-Mart.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of New Book Who Dis. I am your host, DeathMetalHero, and with me is Odin Dasko. What's going on, Odin? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Good evening, everybody, and good evening, Luke. Happy to be here. Let's go.
So, man, excuse me.
That's what happens. Take a big chug.
Yep. Too much air. Oh, first, bow. 80s made consumer and Flying Feline. Skull, beautiful. Thanks for coming to hang out.
Flying Feline.
Yeah. So, man, what is your favorite band currently? Like, what's the band that you're listening to like pretty much all the time?
Well, I always say Faith No More because that's never changed.
Forever okay, that's a classic. I mean,
yeah, Mike Patton is ridiculous. What else was I was listening
all
to?
The different projects that he has.
Yeah. Well, I like all his projects, but I always go back to Faith No More. It's still my favorite. This band Cold that did like this weird industrial hardcore kind of stuff. Cold, I've been listening to them lately. They're most of this is like 90s shit. And then
I think I remember Cold.
Yeah, they were on the Brain Scan soundtrack. That's where I first heard of them.
Okay, yeah.
The scene where he like actually murders the guy in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack to that whole murder scene is this Cold song called or not Cold, Old. Sorry.
Old. Oh, okay. No, I've never heard of them.
Totally different band. Yeah.
Yeah, I was because Cold had that song like Everybody Got Wicked or something like that.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan.
Year of the Spider.
Wrong band.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Cold, actually. Now that I think about it.
No, scratch that. Scratch that from the record. We're not a fan.
You take the
C Old.
off.
Gotcha.
Old.
Gotcha.
Well, it's a weird name. Old.
Yeah. I mean, okay, cool. Any recent death metal bands that you're digging?
Yeah, no, not anything recent. I go back to all my old favorites. I saw you were wearing the Death shirt. They're always a classic that I'll always go back to.
Oh hell yeah!
All my favorite '90s death metal bands and all the Roadrunner, Earache. So those are my go-to. The Earache ones. I love the UK bands like Bolt Thrower and Napalm and Carcass.
Oh yeah, Napalm Death. Gotta love Napalm Death. You know.
Oh yeah.
30-second song. You know.
3 times. Yeah, they're fucking intense live too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Barney's a badass vocalist. I love him.
Yeah. Huh? Oh, what's up, Courtney?
Saying hi to Courtney.
Thanks for coming to hang out. Appreciate you being here. You ever listen to Volbeat's song that they did with Barney from Napalm Death? Evelyn?
No, I was unaware such a thing existed.
It's fucking awesome. It's actually one of my favorite songs to do while I'm doing the sing-along at Doom because I get to sing and I get to grow. You know, so it's like the duality, I guess. I don't know, the light and the dark. It's fun.
So you have a death metal growl. I've heard it several times. You just did it now.
Yeah.
Did you do vocals in any bands?
No, I haven't done any vocals in any bands, but I did the vocals for the song that was on Matt's first campaign, "Roll the Bones."
Oh yeah. He was telling me that.
Yeah, I found some music for it, and So no, I've never done any vocals for any bands yet. There was a couple of times where I was going to be the vocalist for a band, and it just kind of fell through.
Yeah. It's hard to rely on other people. Yeah. No, I did it for a long time, and the first band I was in was much more death metal like. That was one where, I wasn't confident in my singing voice, so I was just growling and screaming, which was fun. But eventually I was like, I think I can sing. Maybe I should try that too.
Well, see, my dad was a vocalist. As a matter of fact, this microphone that I'm using right here was one of the ones that he used on stage.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So growing up, we would be listening to his music, and it's 70s, 80s rock, and there's no shortage of hair metal in there. I mean, whatever. But mostly Zeppelin, some Sabbath. I mean, I don't know if you can see the records over there. I mean, those are the records I inherited from my dad. So,
well, Sabbath is another go-to. I'll never get tired of listening to them. I think they captured a certain feel and sound that I'll always love. And Tony Iommi's tone, Bill Ward, Geezer Butler, they all just phenomenal.
Knew what they were doing.
I'll go back to them. But yeah, you can find value all across generations and styles. So I do love brutal death metal. There's no doubt about it. But it's not the only thing.
The kind of the reason why I got into more heavier, hardcore, brutal stuff is because my dad would be singing and I'd try to sing along, and he'd tell me not to sing. Like you can't sing, boy. Stop. Like fine, I will growl then. Yeah. So that's growl and scream. That's what I do. And then eventually, I discovered my own singing voice.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it was a little poke at your dad. Anyway, he was a good dude. I mean, he was a fucking ridiculously talented musician. He could sing, he could play guitar, he could play bass, he could play drums. Like he was literally, he could do the whole thing.
That seemed really common
speaker
back then.
Cabinets. Yeah.
That you weren't just some guy who could play one thing, or you weren't just a singer. It's like you had to be kind of versatile. That was pretty common.
Yeah, had to be able to do multiple things. But yeah, so that's and then my mom, the music, is just a little lighter, but so I got this whole balance of everything except for country. I don't really do country.
I got a lot of really old country, which I still
well, love. I mean that's more bluegrass. Old country is I feel
let's say like the outlaw stuff, like Hank Williams era, and it was grittier. It was they were hard drinking songs and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I can dig on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, my parents are we're pretty old. I'm the youngest in my family by a bit. What's up, Aldous? Good to see you.
Welcome, dude. Good to see you, brother. Is it too much to ask for a little fog hat? Ain't nothing wrong with a little fog hat.
Sometimes, I don't know. Yeah. Right now,
yeah.
Some other day, we'll do fog hat.
So have you ever listened to Volbeat at all? Because they cover Hank Williams' song.
Yeah. No, yeah, I heard that. But I was never a fan. I don't know why. I think his vocals just turned me off. He has a very distinct tone to his voice. It always turned me off. But I get what they were doing. I thought they were, a good band. But yeah, they were not at my top. So
it's like the kind of a mix of Johnny Cash and Merciful Fate.
Yeah. Well, that I think if done a little bit different, I probably would have liked it. They would definitely have to have the vocals of Merciful Fate. It probably would. You should
can't beat King Diamond, man. Good old King Diamond, man.
The screechy one.
I'll send you the link to Evelyn, and then you can hear that song, so you can hear the difference between the two. But it's fun.
Oh, I'd be curious.
1950s, mid-60s country is some great Americana tunes.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, the singing cowboys. Hank Snow, he was another big one. Yeah, I loved a lot of that stuff. So on my little channel that I got, I do a lot of like singing videos in my car, and it's a lot of old country. And for some reason, people love that shit. So I'm like, I love singing it. So
drop the link to your YouTube in the private chat so I can drop the link in the in the chat, because I tried to get all the links I could from your Twitter.
Yeah, I don't post. I don't see the YouTube very much. So. And there's a reason for that. It's like a really no frills. Like I either am sitting there drawing and talking, or I'm driving and singing. So it's like one or the other. But yeah, because
ain't nothing wrong with that.
I stream with 80s Made Consumer usually 3 times a week, which he'll be on later tonight at 11. But I'm not going to be there tonight. I have some business to attend to after I'm done here. But because I stream with him 3 times a week, it kind of like
you got a place where people can find you,
place.
Regularly.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Yeah. But I mean, if you have something like, if you want to post a video that you made, it's always good to let people know where they can find you.
Yeah. Well, I've also got another channel where I've got some of my music, so you might dig that. I'll put that in the private. I don't know if you want to share.
Yeah, you definitely send me that.
Yeah.
And all right, you guys, go ahead and give a sub to Odin over here on his YouTube channel.
Thank you, sir. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, if you like drawing videos or just listening to some dude yammer away about nothingness.
Well, I mean, I like drawing videos. I mean, I've just started doing time lapse videos.
Yeah, those are cool. Like, are you doing a digital and then you do the time lapse?
No, it's
recording
me myself inking traditionally. I didn't. The first one did not go as smoothly as I would have hoped. I learned a lot, and I tried something different on the second one, and the second one is almost done now, and it's gone a lot smoother, lot better,
nice.
Much more better.
Much more better. Well, I'm gonna check those out, man, because I like drawing videos as well. But sometimes the time lapses are great because I'll just turn up the speed on the YouTube anyway. You know.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like I want to get to the end, but I also want to watch the process. But it does take a while sometimes. So.
Yeah.
Thanks, Odin.
Odin rambles are better than Folgers in your cup. There you go. See,
I was thinking it was better than like, what was the one the one that helps you get your Z's?
NyQuil.
Yeah, I thought maybe I was like putting people to sleep. Well, I get this baritone voice.
Nitol helps you get your Z's. Oh my God! I just pulled that out of like this dark, cobweb-filled corner of my mind.
Yeah, it's all there.
I haven't thought about that commercial in forever, dude. Yeah. What is this?
Information I never needed. Yeah, there it is.
I thought I had like deleted that, but apparently it's still there. Yeah.
I don't think you ever deleted anything. It's all there.
I mean, you just put it in low storage or like cold storage until you need it, I guess.
Right. The recycle bin just fills up. That's all.
Exactly. And sometimes you gotta meditate and empty that recycle bin.
Yeah.
You guys aren't selling Midol.
Midol.
I don't think that's what it was.
Nitol.
Because I remember it had like an N on the pill, and then the pill would like roll over on its side, and it would look like a Z.
Z's would be like flying out of the pill, like the pill was sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was our code for weed back when I was younger.
Oh,
because if you wanted to get an ounce, you'd be like, "Hey, dude, can you hook me up with Nitol?" You know. Helps you get your Z's.
I mean, sometimes this shit helps me focus.
Right?
Helps me focus and like zone into what I'm doing.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if
there we go. All this is Nuprin, little, yellow, different.
For some reason, I just saw Mike Myers doing that in Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Great draw streams where he does more talking than drawing, but they're great to listen to while driving.
Yeah, that's true. I'll sit there, I'll start drawing, then I'll put my pen down and be like, ah.
And another thing, you know what really grinds my gears?
It grinds my gears. There's people who do draw streams where they don't really draw that much.
Where they just sit and talk. They look like they're drawing, but they're not. They're just...
You get on a soapbox and you start getting super pretentious, thinking everybody wants to hear what the fuck you have to say.
You start pontificating because, you're
Next thing all it's like an hour-long video of you just sounding like an old angry man. So,
and these damn kids on my yard, I can't stand it. You damn kids and your music. What's up, Mike McMahon? Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming to hang out. And we got a some person. What's up, some person?
Some person is here. Good to see you, man.
That's right. Putting them to sleep is good. Bob Ross did that. Just say, happy little trees.
Happy little trees, yeah. So did you see the new Creep shows that were on Shudder?
No, I didn't. I missed out on
Creep show series. Well, there was one that, what's his name? Ted Raimi.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically PBS meets Evil Dead.
Nice.
And so it's like Bob Ross and he's painting, but then on like another stage they're doing an Antique Roadshow thing where this guy brings in fucking Necronomicon. He's like, I found it in my parents' basement. What do you think it's worth? And the guy starts reading the incantations, and then everybody starts going dead-eyed on the whole place. And Bob Ross has to fucking save the day. He like goes into like this flashback from Nam or something, and like starts killing everything. It was badass.
I'm gonna have to look that up, man.
One of the greatest anthology episodes I've ever seen of any show. But I really thought that new Creep Show series kind of doing justice to the old school horror anthologies.
Well, that's cool, man. Very often they have a hard time living up because the old ones have had such amount of time to become like cult classics. They're ingrained in the zeitgeist, and I don't know. Sometimes it's very hard to be able to do something like that justice because it is so endeared to people. It's so beloved.
Well, and then we're looking at our generation where we're like wanting to find that stuff, but we're also so attached to the nostalgia that like almost anything new hardly stands a chance because we're like, it's not the same,
Well, that's so what they bank on that now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean that's why we get so many friggin' rehashes and
reboots
stuff.
And
yeah. But what they did was they went all practical effects, really kept like that schlock and campiness, and just kind of went hard on it and said, this is what people love. Let's not try to make like, we got all the modern technology and make it awesome. They like really basically made it like it felt like it was made in the 80s, So
hell yeah, I like that.
Right next to Tales from the Dark Side or some shit.
I like that. I mean, I prefer practical effects to modern CGI anyway. I mean, look at John Carpenter's The Thing. I always bring this up, because that movie still holds up to this day because of the practical effects. I mean, it has to look good on film because you're actually filming it, and people got to react to it, so it's got to look real in the real world. And when you film it, it's going to age beautifully because it had to look real the first time.
Right. The actors around it are seeing an actual model that looks real, so they're actually reacting to it rather than a green screen.
The shadows are there. I mean, you don't have to put all the
so much better.
CGI ages so poorly these days.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like especially like the early stuff, you're like, holy shit, this is bad. And like the modern stuff is, what's up, Matt? Good to see you. The modern stuff is so CGI that you're almost like, are these even real actors anymore? Because they're like putting this like gloss over everything that just kind of feels fake.
Yeah, it's the uncanny valley is what it is. We're gonna get to the the horseshoe curve thing. We're gonna get to the point where it's gonna start looking not real again, and our lizard brain is gonna freak out and be like, no, that's wrong. I don't like that. No, thank you.
Right.
No, thank you.
We're gonna turn to our Android AI robot next to us and be like, do you believe this shit?
Yeah, exactly.
That don't look real.
That don't look real at all.
Nah, I don't believe it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's I don't know. I practical effects for the win, and
and everything in the thing look even to this day, like you said, holds up. The only thing that kind of doesn't is the defibrillator where his arms go into the belly. That was one where they did some weirdness on the.
I want to say they had to paint on the actual film, like they kind of had to animate that somehow.
Right, I think that's what it was, which is basically like their at the time version of CGI, and it was that's the only part that doesn't really hold up. But other than that,
I mean the part where the head comes up. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, but I want to preface this, but the practical effects don't mean that it's going to be a hit. I mean, look at the fucking Disney Star Wars that they did. I mean, J.J. Abrams is like, oh yeah, we use practical effects and whatnot and models and shit. It's like, okay, cool. You still suck because you have no originality. So just remember that.
The creativity behind the minds that made that practical effects of the original Star Wars, the models are out of this world. Like, pardon the pun, but like, like when the Star Destroyer is flying over your head and you're seeing the underbelly of all the components, you're just like, you believe it, Yeah. You're like, I'm in a little tiny ship and this is flying over my head. I believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Damn it! Now I want to go watch like old movies. Actually, I want to go watch some old Ray Harryhausen movies.
Stop
motion animation, man.
For sure.
I don't know. Just thinking about the ship and the models and like the way they had to film it, to make it look like it's actually huge, just reminds me of the stuff that they did with Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah. Well, again, you're taking a model of something that's supposed to be gigantic.
Yeah.
And using claymation or whatever effect to scale it down, and then you'd have like a crab claw or something grab a person, and they're like, I'm getting eaten by a crab.
Like real movie magic, you know. Because again, all that stuff had to be real, and they had to figure out a way to, you know, analog, put that stuff together.
Yep.
80s Made says, speaking my language now, Ray was a self-taught master.
Heck yeah, man.
He was.
I think that was the first time I was on 80s Made show. We were talking Ray Harryhausen. So that's probably why I kept coming back.
Let's see. You are correct.
There. Is that better? Is that better?
Oh, did you?
I changed my microphone. Alex VRP was saying I was tinny.
Tinny.
Yeah. And that means that you didn't hear this when I started out. So once again, everybody, welcome to Nilbakudis. That's what you were supposed to hear, and you didn't because I didn't have the right microphone on.
What was that again?
Chrome.
Can you do it one more time, Luke, now that you got it fixed?
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Alex VRB. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yep, better now. Much better. Awesome. Yeah, Ray was the man. Ray was amazing.
For sure.
I love his movies. I think the one I saw the most was probably like what is it, Sinbad?
Yeah.
Was it the Golden Fleece that they did? Or was it just did they just call it the seven?
They did like 2 or 3
Voyages of
Sinbads. I think he did like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
The one with the Cyclops on the beach.
Yeah.
Is the one I remember watching over and over again because, like, you know, AMC or Turner Classic Movies would just have it on all the time. You know, it would pop up. So yeah.
Thank God for AMC when we were kids, man.
Yeah. So what was the first comic? 3 Sinbads, he says. Yep. Excellent. Sinbad 7 Voyages. Thank you, Aldous. 7
Voyages. There you go.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Just trust Aldous to like know that information.
Oh, here I gotta do it. Are you ready? Oh, did you want it with the echo?
Yeah.
Are you ready? There you go.
There you go, Jonathan Davis.
Yeah. The funny thing about their first hit song, that song in particular, they ripped that off of Primus.
Yeah,
Too Many Puppies.
The same bass line. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, I think if you asked Fieldy, he'd probably ascribe a lot of the bass innovations to. Well, I think he asked a lot of bassists. Like, oh yeah, Les Claypool taught me a lot.
That pretty much owned TBS when we were kids. Yep. Indeed.
Yep.
Indeed.
For sure, man.
Okay, so what I was getting back to is what was like the first comic that really stood out to you, that made you love comics, and how old were you?
I'd say a combination of New Mutants, X-Men, and Uncanny X-Men. It's hard for me to pinpoint which one was the one, but
sure,
that was when Liefeld, Lee, Portasio. There's just certain artists on those books at that time. They're trying to do a lot of continuity stuff with the different X universes, and I just really bought into it. And then X-Force #1, I was big on that. So right around that time was when I really leaped into comics. I mean, I was, rocking shirts of like Jim Lee art, Liefeld art.
Oh,
and, those sold me. And so as much as people want to shit on Liefeld nowadays, it seems like a fun thing for people to pile on. I'm like, hey, that guy owned the early 90s,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Fucking killing it. So.
For sure. I mean, it kind of defined a style for the 90s.
Well, he was bringing something back. So, we talk about like pendulum swings and how things come back and forth.
Style,
like comics had kind of gotten a little stale. They'd lost what Kirby used to always add, which is this like, hey, it may not look proper, but it's going to be fun. And Liefeld had that kind of like dynamic action to, and frenetic look to his books that was like, oh shit, it's like getting fun again. Where Lee wasn't as much. Lee was
visually exciting,
but he was still visually exciting.
Yeah, visually exciting, and they were trying to make comics that made them feel the same magic they felt when they were reading comics.
Exactly.
They were trying to recreate that adventure, and they were trying to put that excitement into their artwork, and they did it visually.
For sure.
I mean, look at Silvestri. Now Silvestri, in my opinion, has only gotten better over the years. Like he
That
has
is
just
true.
continued to just get so much better.
Yeah,
To
but
me,
even
Jim
his
Lee's
early
kind of
stuff.
plateaued.
So he was another one when he was on Wolverine.
Mhm.
I was reading a lot of that at that time.
Yeah,
And then I
buddy.
was picking up, I was going back and every time I could get some because they were starting to get to be a hot commodity, but I was getting the Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X run.
Oh,
Marvel
I'm
Comics Presents.
only missing like a couple of that run.
Yeah, that was
That's
some of the
beautiful
coolest
run.
shit ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have the trade, and I've read it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who would have thought
such an
that a
amazing
character as cool as Wolverine could all of a sudden become cooler? And it was just
Right.
telling this great backstory and the imagery that Windsor Smith was doing. I was just like, damn.
And that was,
Yeah.
and for back then, that was a very like adult story. And I don't mean adult in like adult
Yeah, he was
situations
getting
and
it on.
whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's a very mature, very dark, very
Dramatic.
adult story.
Yeah, like-
it's like a rated R movie, but like a
Yeah,
thriller.
deep concepts.
Yeah.
Intense imagery, intense concepts, that a kid is just getting flabbergasted by. You're just getting like slapped across the face with this, like I said, adult natured theme for a character you've always liked, which is Wolverine. And you're like, remember the guy with the claws and he's jumping around and, kicking ass.
Yeah.
Silvestri did a good job with that, or I forget who was writing on Wolverine during Silvestri's run.
Say some of that was Hama. I think
Was it Hama?
came over and wrote some Wolverine. He may have showed up later.
But even that
Lucieza.
delved into deep waters of like kind of like you said, adult natured subject matter of like intense. It didn't seem like just comic books. It was very 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 deep, very adult in nature. Like I said,
exactly.
not like porn style, but
yeah, exactly. And reading Weapon X as a kid, it made me feel like I was reading something that may have been beyond what I was supposed to be reading, but I felt like I was reading literature, not just a comic book. It felt to me, it felt more elevated than the rest of the stuff that I was reading. It didn't feel like kiddie fare. It felt like he wasn't talking down to me. He was just telling a good story that anybody could enjoy.
Right.
And that's why I fell in love with that story and read it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It was good writing. It was good art. And it was a, haunting story.
Well, I think I can't remember who I was talking about with it, but it was the same thing with it was with Neff last night. He was talking about heavy metal, like the first time you're exposed to it and you feel like you're reading something that's above your level. Yeah. And you're kind of like going like, oh, I thought comics were happy little stories about superheroes,
Yeah, wait, comics aren't just like, Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're exposed to kind of like this European element of like, a little more risque stuff. So when we talk about adult, that actually had like that kind of adult theme, But as a kid, you're like, I want more.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want to see more titties. Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. When I was a kid, my dad got me into comics. I was 3, and I couldn't actually read. But I was learning how to read with flashcards. My mom was teaching me how to read. And I was very motivated to learn because I wanted to know what Spider-Man, Batman, and the Fantastic Four were saying. And I remember, that fog lifting and being able to understand the stories so much better. And that built a love for reading in me from then on. I couldn't get enough.
That is awesome.
Books. I discovered the Chronicles of Narnia, later, and just from books and comics and just everything, Just wanted more. Give me a good story. Entertain me with a good story. Take me away.
Yes. Entertainment.
Entertainment.
What we're looking for.
Exactly.
Well, and that's where we're at now. Like making independent books. People are trying to bring back, kind of like we were talking about with Liefeld, like what inspired you? What like capture that magic that you had when you were first introduced to comics?
Yeah.
And it really is. It just comes down to entertainment.
Yep.
Can you entertain? Like the way they're dropping the ball nowadays with comic books is this loss of entertainment. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We were joking before we jumped on about like the art style of a lot of modern stuff, and it's like there's nothing entertaining or exciting about it. The reason why Stan Lee like hitched his wagon with Jack Kirby as much as he could possibly do was because he knew that guy sold entertainment. You know, I'm going to tell a cool story.
Visually stimulating. You
are going to like draw something again, whether the anatomy is right, whether the foreshortening is correct. It didn't matter. It was like, it was in your face. It was entertaining.
That's
and yeah, that's what comic books should be.
Yes. Comic books should be entertaining. They should be visually stimulating. They should, you know, move you in some way visually. You know?
Absolutely.
And obviously, you know, we want the story to move us as well. That's the biggest problem with a lot of these newer books is that the stories don't do anything. They don't go anywhere.
No,
you know?
They have an agenda that drives the story. And when you have an agenda, your story goes off the rails pretty easily.
Well, even if you take the agenda out, which, you know, you're not left with much once you do that, but even if you take that out, what you do have is you have these people that supposedly have superpowers sitting around in coffee shops checking their fucking phone.
Oh yeah.
and having these long-winded myopic conversations. You remember when, like, you know, say Spider-Man Venom needed to have a conversation, right? They'd be swinging through the city going and doing something. So you'd have Mark Bagley doing these awesome fucking, you know, poses and whatnot. So it's at least visually interesting. Looking at Robin sitting in a fucking cafe, checking his phone, wondering if his boyfriend is going to message him is not entertaining fucking comics. I'm sorry.
No.
It's not. Even if it was Batman checking his phone to see if Catwoman had fucking texted him. I'm looking at you, Tom King. Fuck you.
Fuck you. Yes, fuck you on that. A 9-panel page of a different text on a phone each panel. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's lazy writing.
Well, it's lazy writing, it's lazy art, and whoever.
I mean, I feel bad for
editor
the
let that go by is a fucking piece of shit too. So yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel bad for the artist that has to draw that shit.
Yeah, your name is forever tainted as the guy who drew a 9-panel page of.
Even if listen, the Clay Mann, the artist that got co-opted into doing Tom King's shit, he's a fucking amazing artist.
Yeah,
he deserves better, in my opinion. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, and I don't doubt some of these artists are better than what they're given from the writers. Now, all this knows is we talk about it all the time. Many people know of it. It's the 24 panels that always work by Wally Wood. And that the subheading when it got re-released was I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like when your writer writes boring ass dialogue for 2 pages or something like that. You know, it's basically like, how do you have to put dialogue, and there are scenes where you're just kind of like 2 people talking. That does happen. You
got to make them visually
interesting. How do you do
though?
that and make it still exciting and entertaining? You know, driving the story in an exciting fashion. It's not looking at text messages on a phone. That's definitely not the way to do it.
Well, I mean, even if okay, let's say the scene is people sitting in a coffee shop having a conversation. You can make it visually interesting because Ryan Stegman in what was it? The story that he did with Donny Cates. It was the something Carnage. It wasn't Maximum Carnage because they did Ultimate Carnage or something. Anyway, the fucking miniseries that he did. There's Spider-Man and Eddie Brock and Dylan are sitting in a cafe and they're having a conversation.
Right.
It's still visually interesting because he played with camera angles and, you know, he knew what he was doing. He made it visually interesting. And the scene didn't last, you know, for more than a page and a half. It wasn't like half the book was spent in the cafe. So.
And the dialogue is condensed to what needs to be there. It's not like 20 word balloons that are filled with like 20 words in each word balloon. You know, it's like, that's the whole thing. Like you said, like a biopic person just rambling. It's not the medium for that. I mean, I don't know that there is a medium for that, except for like,
I mean,
that movie
you know,
with
vanity publishing. If you, I mean, isn't that what microblogging is? I mean, just go find some dark corner of the internet and go microblog yourself to death. Then, you know, don't bother us with all that shit.
Yeah, it seems like, again, it's kind of like this self-inserted thing from a writer to, I have something to say. I'm gonna. But again, like, who are the editors that let this shit go by as well? You know.
They're too busy checking their phones.
Yeah, they're too busy like being the panel.
Yep.
Be the
too
panel.
busy to actually edit. I mean, ugh. Panels with close-ups of a phone and some text messages that don't advance the plot in any way. Exactly. Important point for many a comic artist: a Dutch angle can occur at more than 1 degree of pitch. Very true, my friend. Very
1 degree
true.
of pitch. Yeah, exactly. Like, just tilt the shit. Tilt it a little.
What's up, Metal Movies and Brewskis? Good to see
Hail.
you, brother. Hail, Matt.
Or ale. Or skull.
Ale. Skull.
Good to see you, man.
Just Dutch? Or are you Dutch?
Just he's double Dutch.
Double Dutch, exactly. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at this at the campaign here, because this is part of the reason why we are here. Not just to hang out, but to talk about
as a byproduct.
The reason, we're talking about what we love about comics, because we have the desire to make comics. You're making a comic. And
absolutely.
What I have noticed hanging out in this scene is that growing up loving comics often leads to wanting to make comics, because again, like Rob and Mark and Portasio back in the day, they all were creating. They wanted to create those stories that gave them excitement, that they enjoyed when they were kids. And I find that most of the people that are making comics now here in our indie scene is because they want to tell those stories as well. They want to entertain. They want to create that same sense of escapism that they found when they were kids. So I'm going to play this trailer, and then you can tell us where the idea for this book came from.
All right, sounds good.
On pure speculation, just an educated guess, I'd say that man is alive.
Come with me, see what I see. The terrible worlds that lie between. The realm observed and the realms unseen, where the dark things live while you dream. Join me, fight on the beholder, as I drag your mind into those shadows and corners, where you can see like me, those things you don't want to believe. Unconditional Shove, the new horror sci-fi graphic novel anthology series, featuring 2 stories and over 80 pages of compelling, action-packed, terrifying fun. In our first story, I'll take you to a place where the otherworldly is made manifest. In this place, the abstract permeates the cosmology. In this place, your fears will construct the most terrifying animations. Because in this place, monsters exist. And in our second story, we stumble upon an ancient friendship between monster and man. And you'll see why it might be best to keep your monsters close and your enemies even closer. In with friends like these. Unconditional Shove Volume 1. A graphic novel for all you lovers of the strange, macabre, and creepy things that we all know exist in the shadows of our universe. Unconditional Shove, back in today on Indiegogo. Yes. Yes.
Nice. That's a fucking great trailer, man. You make that yourself?
I did the voiceover, and the music in the background was an old band of mine.
Nice, dude.
Abra's 2 Cents. She has a YouTube channel. She put all the editing work into it. I just did the voiceover and the music. I said, hey, here's a bunch of imagery. I can make it happen.
Nice.
And
then you wrote up a script for it?
What's that?
You wrote up a script for it and then read it?
Yep.
Very cool, man. That is awesome. That is a great trailer, man. And I love this cover. It's very, very EC, and I can see that you got the stress marks, on the sides and whatnot to make it look like an old book. I think that's rad. So where did the idea for this book come from? Like, how did it start in your head, and like when?
So you were just discussing that whole you grow up with comics, it makes you want to make comics.
Yep.
And there's plenty of avenues you can go through with making comics. superheroes is obviously the staple of comic books, the thing most people know.
Sure.
I'm not as big of a superhero comic fan as I was when I was younger.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. Same.
And so over time, I really just got stuck on, I love short stories for one. So anthology books always hit home for me.
Okay.
I remember the love I had for eerie and creepy, not as much the EC stuff because it was just too hard to find. But eerie and creepy magazines, if I was ever at a comic book shop and I saw like a pile of those, I was just grabbing all of them, half the time based on the cover alone, because a lot of times it's like Rosetta or something. And you're like, oh, I have to have this. But those would be like 6 to 10 page stories, you know, just like super quick. And still, I loved them. I loved the black and white art. I loved the kind of tongue-in-cheek campiness of those stories. They were fun. Like, again, like we were talking about, entertainment value. So it's like, I love horror, but I really love horror that's like fun, like kind of like that 80s style horror, you know, like Nightmare on Elm Street or
oh yeah, the kind of slasher flick vibe.
Yeah, it's almost half comedy.
Where it's
like
kind of surreal. Yeah.
Yes. Like you're gonna jump into this universe and this world and this moment in time. But it's not so much like just being dragged through hell the whole time, because there is that type of horror, which I also enjoy, but it's not what I wanted to make. I wanted to make something that had this much more vibrant, lively kind of horror element.
I agree. This is this style is a lot more I don't know, exciting. There's just the other is just it's intense and stressful. This actually has an element of fun to it. You know, the 80s.
I think it's more entertaining at the end of the day. Like when you go to it, you'll laugh, you'll cry. It's the feel-good book of the year. Is it?
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be terrified. You know,
you'll be terrified.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
you're
that's
doing
what I'm trying to capture.
That's awesome, man. So it's just you doing all the artwork, pencils, inks, colors.
Yeah, well, I have a colorist, so I do all the pencils and inks. Originally, it was going to be a black and white book.
Okay.
You know, because when I first decided I was going to do this, I'm like, I don't know if I can afford colors. Maybe we'll do it as a stretch goal or something. But at a certain point, I was like, I think I can afford it. Let's just go out and get a colorist. And so just paying him out of pocket, making sure that happens. And then whatever we make from this, I'll reimburse myself. But like,
yeah, there you go.
He was really amazing colorist, took the direction well, because this is all the instruction I gave him. I was like, dude, look at some old eerie and creepy, the parts that had color, and old EC books. I was like showing him covers, you know, those are all hand painted, but he's doing digital colors. But I was like, give it that feel, but make it look modern.
Yeah,
that's basically all the direction I gave him, and I think he hit it right on the head.
Yeah, definitely. So 80 pages of terror. Holy shit. 80-page book.
Yeah.
First volume, new anthology featuring 2 tales of terror. Nice. So basically 2 40-page stories.
Yeah. So it's not exactly 40 each, but like the first one is like 58, roughly 60.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, so this has come up before where people are like, well, those short stories, you know, I thought they were anthology style. And I'm like, that's true. Like the old EC stuff, it was like a 6 to 10 page, like quick hitter.
And that was it.
And I love those, but I also understood why they did it that way.
And
I'm like, I'm not constrained by the same things that they were as far as like.
No, you're not.
Yeah. So I wanted to they're still short stories, but they're a little more fleshed out, a little more going on. And yeah, you don't have to just be like quick in and out, but they still have that feel of like, you know, kind of the ending that leaves you going like, what the fuck did I just read? You know?
Right. I missed this in the chat. The trailer rocks.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So 2 monstrous tales. Monsters exist. This is cool. Eldritch horrors have found a way to break into our reality through the nightmares of a group of teenagers. Can VR technology battle back the darkness?
Yeah.
And with friends like these, when 2 criminals target the wrong homestead, they find themselves in a fight for their lives against a farmer and his best friend, his scarecrow. Nice.
Yeah, they're fun stories. So I've always kind of been pitching it this way. I'm like, even if you're not a fan of like horror or like the style is not specifically you. Like, I guarantee you'll be entertained. Like you'll read this book, you'll walk away going like, "Damn, that was a fun ride."
Yeah.
They're really fast paced.
This cover.
So yeah. So that's the black and white cover. We have a different cover for black and white and for color. So the color cover was the one with the EC style red block at the top.
Yeah.
And then the black and white has its own cover. So
I think that's cool. I mean, if you're gonna do two different versions, you might as well change the cover.
Yeah, it's the selling point because we've sold most of the tiers we've sold have been both versions. So
yeah,
which is definitely the best value because cheaper price than buying them separate, and then you get both versions, and then even the interiors have a whole other feel to them, like the colors versus the black and white. So
right,
yeah, so the experience is quite different when you're reading one versus the other, I would think.
Right on. It's like we were discussing backstage. The back in the 90s, people complain that over cross hatching and over rendering in the 90s and whatnot. But
right,
each part of the comic, like the pencils, inks, and colors, it's all its own. It stands on its own. Like the final inked piece before it gets colored stands on its own by itself. It reads just fine. They could release those comics in black and white. They'd read just fine. And then they put the color together, and it. The color artwork looks great too, but it comes together and it makes magic, so you get the best of both worlds here, and you get to see the differences. It stands on its own as black and white, but add the color as an extra, adds that extra.
Well, a good example of this was Spawn #1. I saw like an artist edition of, I don't know, wasn't just Spawn #1. It was like the first 10 or something.
Right.
And as I saw that, I'm like, man, there's nothing about this that doesn't look lost without the colors. Todd McFarlane did a great job with his paneling and his creativity on the work on those early Spawn stuff, and I was just like blown away. It gave me a whole new appreciation for what he did, even just seeing the black and white. So removing the color actually sometimes intensifies the experience.
Yeah, it does. Take it easy. All this good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Have a good one.
We will check in.
Have fun hanging out with Matt. He's good peeps.
For sure. Yeah. All good peeps over there tonight. So.
Oh yeah. I love this scene. Like all the different channels, all the places to hang out, and the live streams to check out, the different topics of conversation, all the different areas of expertise. I mean, it's so fucking cool to see all the different, types of knowledge, and then like the Venn diagram of all the stuff that like overlaps and the stuff that the stuff that we all talk about. We're like, oh yeah, I know that. Fuck yeah,
Well, you were talking about hanging out, like, hey, we're just like hanging out at the comic shop, but like,
yep,
you have this like interconnected multiple comic shops and overlaps of conversations, and it's like, fuck yeah, it's the coolest thing ever, man.
Comic shops overlapping with like a record store and like an old video store and
anything you could think
shit,
of. Well,
man.
Aldous just jumped on. His channel's he's playing old radio broadcasts of like the Shadow.
I fucking love the old Shadow radio plays. I was telling him I'm so glad that he's doing that to preserve them, because that old content needs to be out there, man.
That's the corner. He's got that corner marketed, market cornered.
And see, that's what I'm talking about. There's something for everybody over here, because we've all got varying interests and tastes. And like I said, there's this Venn diagram where things overlap and we get to share things. I mean, that was always the fucking coolest thing about being at the comic shop to me. Being excited about the things that we enjoy. And that's what I find here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was the local comic shop that I went to when I was like 13, 12, 13-ish. I like basically lived there as much as I could. It was like an arcade. I just wanted to hang out with these guys. They were like older guys. And the guy who owned the place was basically like the Simpsons character, which is great.
Worst comic ever.
He's like so cynical.
Don't touch anything with your sticky fingers.
So pumped. That is a signed picture of.
What
was
a
it?
signed picture of a card behind
Sean
the counter.
Connery, signed by Roger Moore. But yeah, like I would hang out there all the time.
It's just garbage. Yeah. I always tried to not be the comic shop guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah, if you can. I mean, there's something funny about it, but in real life, sometimes you're like, dude, quit being a dickhead.
yeah. I mean, yeah. There's sometimes you get some special people that just show up in the comic shop.
Well, I think the part of it was he was just extremely overweight, and and again, like his knowledge of the fandom and the everything, he was just kind of like pompous and yeah,
not fun. What's up, King League? Good to see you, man.
Good evening.
Welcome. What's up, Cement Shoes? Thank you for coming to hang out. Good to see you.
Cement Shoes.
Yeah.
Concrete galoshes.
Concrete galoshes. All right, or get them both. I mean, that seems like the best value is to get them both. Oh shit! And $250 gets you a limited interior page.
Yep.
Like that's an actual page.
Yes, $250. You'll get an actual interior page, original art.
Damn, dude.
So I've got 80 pages in this book, 80 plus.
Right.
But I'm not holding back like what I think are the 10 best. So people who back this are getting a really awesome interior page. And I stand by the artwork. I think it's awesome, Yeah. I'm not just saying that because I draw it. But.
Each so you're doing this all traditionally.
Yep, it's all traditional.
Nice.
Got a whole stack of this book, sitting up here.
That's fucking rad, dude.
Yeah, I just scan them to my colorist.
Pencils onto page. That's the whole thing. All traditional. Nice.
Yep, everything's traditional except the colors. So
That's
all
awesome.
the black and white, straight up traditional. And the nice thing about that is that makes the pages available. And this is my first campaign. I'm hoping some people will jump on that. Obviously, I don't want to get rid of interior pages. So if no one does, it's not the worst thing in the world because then I don't get rid of them. But that is a tier available, and it's first come, first serve. So I'm going to pull, like I said, the 10 best, the 10 that I think are really the best pages, and then it'll be.
And then people get to pick from them, huh?
First come, first serve. So the first person who backs that tier gets their pick of those 10.
Nice.
And here's some previews of some of those interior pages.
Nice. As a matter of fact, you sent me some preview pages, and I tried to upload the color ones, and they wouldn't upload. They were too big.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, here's an overlay so you can see. Look at it. Look at this 2-page spread, man. This is a gorgeous 2-page spread, man. I like this.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
that is the one image that will not be in that 10 because of the 2-pager.
Yeah, because it's a 2-pager.
You don't want half of a 2-pager, and so
no, you need the whole thing. Now, I mean, if somebody contacts you and is like, "Yo, I kind of want that 2-page spread," I'm sure you wouldn't.
Money talk.
Yeah, hey, make an offer. Make an offer.
This is a piece of history for me as well. It's the first book I'm publishing, so it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to give away a lot if people back this tier.
Sure.
But I'll probably keep this one for myself in perpetuity.
I can understand that.
Yeah. And the covers, I'm going to keep those as well.
Right. I can totally, but people out there, you never know unless you ask, and
Well, it's different with different artists. Some
Yep.
Some don't care about the originals. They're like, yeah, sell it. Let's make some money. And some are like Walt Simonson, who's like, I think he's never sold an original piece of his art ever. So
if he sells an original, I think he just makes an original to sell.
Right, which that's totally different, because people go, I want, Simonson's RoboCop, and he's like, well, I'll draw you a RoboCop. You're not getting the page from the book.
Yeah, you're not getting the pages. I mean, God, who else? Simonson, and there was somebody else that does that as well.
There's a few.
The inker on it was Claremont and Byrne and Austin.
Oh yeah,
he apparently has held on to like fucking everything that he has. All the half of the pages that he got when he was inking X-Men, he's got all those. So he's got a solid chunk of the Claremont Byrne run of X-Men.
Right, which is gold. Jesus. Well, again, I think of this and then I go, if they've got kids though, and maybe their kids don't want to get rid of it either, but if they do, that's like money in the bank, that's a hell of an inheritance if they want to get rid of it. Because I know, like Sarah Frazetta, like basically set up a whole museum for her grandpa. It's like,
Yep. Well, I mean, the museum. There's a couple of them.
yeah.
There's one in Florida and there's one in Virginia. That was actually, I mean, the one up in Virginia was set up when Frank was still alive.
Oh, okay.
But yes, Sarah and her mom,
Right.
Holly, they run Frazetta Girls. And
Right.
I love them. I adore them. They're so fucking cool. I'm
Yeah.
so proud
Well, you
of
can
them.
sell the fondness they have for Frank, and it's like
They loved. I mean, Holly loved.
we
him.
all have that somewhat of attachment to him as far as an artist.
I mean, he's the godfather of all of this.
fantasy art, or
Yeah.
is definitely sword and sorcery, I think. And
Yeah, well, I mean, just he changed the way people looked at fantasy art.
Oh, yeah.
He changed the way people looked at illustration too. I mean, you look at some of his old illustration work as well. I mean, it's just head and shoulders above everything else that was coming out.
that is true.
It
Yeah, he's
always stood out. So
he is the great one. Well, I'm wearing my Frazetta shirt today, so
yes.
yeah, no. He was the one more than any artist I can think of where really good fantasy artists can have one piece of artwork, and you look at that one piece and you're like, there's a really fantastic, amazing story here, and it's just one piece of art, but your mind is filled in a ton of blanks to go, holy shit, that's a fantastic, whatever's going on, whatever led these people into this battle, there's this epic story behind it. And he's like, I just drew a picture.
And
Or
that was the thing about Frazetta, is that you'd look at the painting that he would do, or the illustration or whatnot, and you would be transported there. You would see, you would be there. You would hear the battle. You would see the movement, and this whole thing. Your mind would pick up the movie that was going on there, even though it's a still fucking image.
Exactly.
It's just a painting. And I mean, I've never seen one of his pieces in person.
Right.
But even now, I mean, I have a print. Okay, so when I was in college, I was staying at this frat house. Friend of mine was part of this house, and they had just lost a roommate, and I needed a place to stay.
Right.
So I ended up living in a house with a bunch of dudes, and yeah, I don't think I'd ever do that again. Anyway, I was putting stuff down in the basement, and I noticed that there were these posters over there in the side. And one of them was a fucking Star Wars poster. This was back when Star Wars was still awesome.
Right.
So it was Darth Vader Star Wars poster and a Frazetta print, a Conan print from the 70s, from like 75, 72, something like that.
Yeah.
Of Conan versus the Frost Giants.
Oh yeah, that's one of the
I
best.
was like, hey, so these posters down here, whose are they? Somebody left those here from like 3 years ago, man. It's not anybody's. I'm like, they're mine now.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
What a score.
So it is now in my hallway right next to the studio. So every morning when I walk into my studio, I see Frazetta. Every day I see Frazetta in the hallway. Yep.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
No,
And nobody had more of
inspiring.
a capturing an essence of a battle, a scene, whatever it was. And then obviously, I think I like a certain type of women body type just because of Frazetta. I think he did that to me.
Yep. Yeah. Get down and take a Frazetta girl.
Watching
all day.
Fire and Ice, I've basically been looking for Tigra my whole life.
Yeah. Speaking of Frazetta girls, they're beautiful. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Listen to the wise Feline.
That is a good call.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I did this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I'll let you in the hallway, but yeah. No, it's a beautiful piece. It's one of my favorites.
So is that the one in your hallway? Is that the Frost Giant one? That same one?
Yeah, the Frost Giants. Yep.
Yeah.
Conan versus the Frost Giants.
Well, again, you look at that image. For one, there's like a really good action, frenetic energy. So the one Frost Giant's like raising his axe.
Yep.
Conan has kind of gone in with a swiping sword.
Yep.
They're all leaning a certain way.
Like holding his neck because he's got his hand under his beard because Conan's just cut his throat open.
Cut his throat.
Yeah.
And then and it's got the Frazetta pyramid. I was talking about this with some other people.
Yeah.
All the action builds to this point. So there's a lot of times there's like a pile of bodies just leading to this like top of the battle where it's Conan or whoever just like fighting
like
more
the
people.
one where Conan's like leaping over the bodies.
He's killed 20 of them and he's standing on top of all those dead bodies, but it creates that
or on the
pyramid.
horse.
Yeah,
coming down. Yep.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yep.
But it always has that pyramid of action. It's just composition, you know. It's like,
yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing. He knew what composition would catch the eye and move the eye.
Yeah.
And these power compositions. His Death Dealer stuff. I love Death Dealer.
Oh yeah, Death Dealer
was
was
my favorites.
Such a badass character. Again, that's why I got it on my shirt.
Exactly.
When I saw Death Dealer, and then they released the original book. Wasn't that Bisley that was doing that?
Bisley did some Death Dealer, yeah. Back in the day. They've got
I know
a new
Frazetta Girl's got the new one, which looks amazing. I haven't got it. But
I picked up the first issue, and I've missed the other ones.
Next ones.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I can probably find them online. But yeah, I was wanting to get all the Frazetta covers, but they did Simon Bianchi. He's an Italian artist, illustrator, painter. Did Astonishing X-Men with Warren Ellis.
Okay.
He's an amazing artist. He did.
I think I know
he
that
did
is
some
like a
covers
picture
for it, and I was just blown away. I mean, I would love to see him do like a run on Death Dealer, just because his style is very painterly.
Yeah. I think that would be like one of the most intimidating things ever, to have like Sarah Frazetta be like, "Hey, do you want to draw a Death Dealer?" I'd be like, "That's too much responsibility."
Oh my God, but I'm terrifying.
I want to.
I'm terrified.
Give my left nut to do this, but
I'm
also, I don't know if I could ever do it justice, and that would bother me to the end.
Yeah, I mean, that would the weight on your shoulders is holy shit, man. Yeah. But I hope you guys have been enjoying the art. This is a cool idea, man. Having the scrolling art going through on the campaign. I dig that.
Yeah, well, we were trying to get away from the endless scroll of interior images. On these campaign pages, you're like, yeah, there's one, and then before you know it, it's like
you're way
you have
down
to
the
scroll
page,
a ton just to get back up to the tiers and stuff. So
yeah,
like,
the cool thing is that they do have this independent scrolling thing anymore.
That's
and
true.
I do like that.
Thank
you,
with the
Indiegogo. I
page.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that does.
So this is your publishing company, Broken Compass Comics?
Yeah, so I hooked up with James Rock. He released Magnificent Bastards, which is going to print here real soon. He just closed down that campaign. Once I met him, we started talking and just realized we were cut from the same creative cloth. And
nice.
Yeah, we started talking about what we envisioned for the future as far as books, and what I had in mind for Shove, what he had in mind for Bastards, and what we had in mind for a publishing company. And he's like, "Dude, let's do this together." He already had Broken Compass.
Oh, okay, so he had that going.
But then now we're partnered up, and so we have big things planned beyond just Magnificent Bastards and Unconditional Shove for 2023 and 2024 with some other creators as well. So just can't leak those things until they're a little more finalized.
Yeah, no, you gotta keep it under your hat until it's ready.
Things under the hat.
This is an interview. Is this what this is?
Yeah, it's just me explaining who the creative team is and basically like gushing over people who would potentially back the.
Nice.
I don't know if anyone's ever actually watched that, but it's just me telling them about myself, about James. He's doing the lettering and the editing on this book as well. So, and then Damir Rosic is colorist. It's basically us three. That's it. That's the creative team.
Nice.
I mean, just giving their background, my background.
Small creative team.
Yeah. Well, it's convenient. It's also easier for financial reasons, but it's also very much easier for creative reasons. When I'm writing it and drawing it, that's because I have a very fluid way of doing it, to where, I script everything out. Yeah, I do thumbnails, but I can change it on the fly because I'm also the artist, you know. So as I'm seeing things, I can extend a page or, you know, change the panel sequences however I like, you know, midway through. So
right.
Definitely gives you a freedom. And I think having the art with the story connected from the same person, I don't know, there is a connected feel. Whereas sometimes they can be disconnected and you almost feel like, yeah, that wasn't a writer sending a script to, you know, to an artist and them just drawing it, you know. For better or worse, you know, that's what we got with a lot of the creator, you know, artist writer teams that were, or books that were put out in the 90s, you know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's not mince words. A lot of the early Image stuff, it was all pictures and no story.
A lot of good pictures.
A lot of good pictures, a lot of good visual storytelling, a lot of really just one-dimensional, flat,
thin stories,
you know, like actual writing. I mean, that's why they brought actual writers in. I mean, why do you think Jim Lee hunted down Alan Moore and brought him in to write stuff for Wildstorm? You know, why do you think he got Warren Ellis to start writing for Wildstorm? You know, it's because they knew what their shortcomings were.
Yeah. Well, it was a great idea because they were like, you know, more power to them. I mean, they were hot names. They were superstars. And I credit that a lot to Wizard Magazine, creating superstars within comics.
Yeah.
I mean, how else did we know? You know, like you would read comics and you might look at the intro at the beginning, like so-and-so penciled, so-and-so lettered, someone, you know, you're like, whatever. Just reading it.
Right.
Later on, then you were like reading Wizard Magazine, like top 10 hot artists. They're like Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, you know, whatever.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of like, you know, backroom pool that was going on and whatnot, pay to play shit that was happening with that. But yes, Wizard did kind of they were the tastemaker of the day, as it were, because they were, you know, they captured that 90s aesthetic, that feel.
But to be fair though, that was also like at my age anyway. It may be a different for maybe people older.
24 Eyes.
What's up, 24 Eyes? Good to see you. It may be different for people who are older, but back in my day, that was the source. Like I would have my pull slot at my comic book shop, and if I couldn't afford anything else, I would buy Wizard. That was no joke. And part of it was also because I got all the money shots of all the artwork. So, because I was more of an art guy, to be quite honest.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, especially back then. I mean, comics are a visual medium, and this is why why I always say I listen to audiobooks. So that's the only way I can get like novels in, because I've got so many comics to read.
Right, it
like,
takes time to read.
A visual medium. I got to sit and look at them, you know.
Right.
But books, like audiobooks, I can listen to while I'm, you know, doing the dishes, mowing the lawn, you know, cleaning the house, whatever,
driving, whatever. You know?
Yeah. Hell, I'll even listen to audiobooks while I'm painting or drawing. You know,
yeah,
that's actually great. And I'll hear like snippets of an audiobook that I was listening to when I was like painting a certain part or whatnot. Yeah. So,
isn't it weird how you make that connection though? Because I remember when I was a teenager, I would have like some music play and some metal, you know.
Yes.
And there's so many books. Like when I see the cover for the book, it reminds me of the music that I was listening to at the time. I was like totally transported that moment. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what I was listening to right now.
100%. You know, that kinesthetic thing, you know, you just look at something and you suddenly hear music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially when
honestly,
we were
sometimes when I look at Wolverine's like brown and gold costume, I hear the theme song from the first X-Men animated show that they did prior to the X-Men.
Right.
You ever seen that?
Was that the one that was connected with Spidey and Friends?
Yeah. That was in the Marvel Action Universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hear that theme song start up. No place to run, no place to hide. And it's just like, yeah, it just transports me back because that was the first time I ever saw Wolverine, you know, in his brown and gold costume, and I was just like, what?
I think that was the first time I ever saw him that made me fall in love with him was an appearance on Spidey and Friends.
Yeah,
the X-Men showed up, and back then they drew him like he was supposed to be, where he was like really short and like really agile and like flipping and flying all over the place with these long claws. And somewhere along the line, I think it was I blame Jim Lee, I guess, for making him like tall and more handsome or something.
Oh no, they did that in the movie. They did that in the movie.
Well,
I mean,
in the movie, but I know Jim Lee was kind of drawing him that way back in X-Men 1 and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, Silvestri kind of made him.
yeah, it's true. It made him a little more.
Made him a little more good looking. You know,
made him a little more
that
Hugh
90s
Jackman-like.
upgrade.
So when they cast Hugh Jackman, at first I'm like, as an old school fan, I'm like, Wolverine's like 5 foot tall. What the fuck?
Yeah, no, he's tiny. That's why he's called.
But then I went, oh, if I look at Silvestri and Lee's Wolverine, he looks.
I'll forgive you.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I hear you.
And to Hugh Jackman's credit, he actually did. He did a pretty good job for what he had to work with.
Who did?
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Well, I
think he did a good job with what he had to work with.
It's funny because I almost can't picture anybody else playing the part now because he embodied the character so well. I mean, yes, he's significantly taller than he should be. Like by a foot at
he's like my height, which is 6'4", and I'm like, dude,
6'2". He's 6'2".
He's 6'2". Okay, but still, it's that kind of like once you're over 6 foot, it kind of shows. It's hard to hide.
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, Wolverine was my favorite character, and then I grew up to be 6'2" as well. So I mean,
okay.
I found out that he was short, and I was like, "What? He's shorter than Nightcrawler? What the fuck?"
Yeah, he's shorter than Nightcrawler.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, man.
But you're right. As time goes on, like us screaming to the wind that he's 5 foot tall doesn't make any difference because everyone knows him as Hugh Jackman now, and it's already happened. So
yeah, I mean, again, he just kind of embodied the character, so he kind of moved beyond the height differential.
Well, you know, if you go back and read Iron Man now, chances are you're going to read it in Robert Downey Jr.'s voice. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
These things become like part of the lore because we didn't have that before, that audio. And now it's like impressed, not only the audio, but the visual. But so some of these voices, now I always get mad when they're like cast somebody and you're like, that's not who I expected. That's not who I thought, you know, because my brother and I would sit around and we would speculate, like, if I made an X-Men movie, who would I cast? Now, the one they always got right, because my brother and I said it forever, was Professor X would have to be Captain Picard.
I mean, that seriously.
It was like a no-brainer. Yeah.
Ian McKellen as Magneto. It's not his name. Jesus. Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier. And then Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. I mean, those three were just casting genius. You know?
Yeah.
Everybody else was middling.
Well, and they could have been anybody. All the other ones could have been anybody, and you're like, whatever. But those
none of the rest of them actually embodied their characters as fully.
No.
As those three did.
But I thought the Avengers movies did a pretty good job casting. And
sure.
A lot of the voices and a lot of the faces and just the mannerisms really lined up with how you pictured.
Yeah.
But the greatest to this day to me was always Mickey Rourke as Marv in Sin City.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like the voice that he did, I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly how I read it.
Worth killing for, worth dying for, worth going to hell for.
It's mowing for hell for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that fucking scene.
So that was probably, in all comic book movies, that was probably my favorite casting of all time.
Oh,
like,
dude.
Holy shit, you look like him, you sound like him, exactly how I read it, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, that first Sin City movie was great. I fucking love that first. And
well,
honestly,
to this day,
you know, the second one was just as good. It came out almost a decade later, so that whole the first one had become like a kind of a cult classic.
Yeah,
and there was no way it was going to live up to the hype.
Right.
You know, if they had done it like within 2 or 3 years of the first one, people would have loved it.
Yeah,
it would have had the same fanfare.
Well, and it has a lot of the same actors, and it's like the same look,
same kind of storytelling. You know, just Robert Rodriguez is better at what he does. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've always said that. To this day, I say that's the best comic book movie ever made.
Yeah.
I think it was the closest
best
to
adaptation.
Yeah, capturing the feel of the comic book. So, which is rare. You know, sometimes you go, it's a movie, so they got to do things different. Fair enough, but
sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Try to keep it as close.
See, iconic voices. Thomas Jane. I like Thomas Jane as the Punisher. He did a good job in that movie. Thomas Jane is too clean cut. He's too pretty for lack of a better term, to be the Punisher. Ray Stevenson, on the other hand, when he did Punisher Warzone, like that was more the Punisher. And then, at least to me,
I think that movie
he looked like he had been punched in the face a lot. He looked like a John Romita Jr. drawing of the Punisher brought to life.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
John Romita Jr.'s Punisher face.
Yes.
With that nose that looked like it had been broken 20
nose
times.
that looked like it had been beaten into hamburger a bunch. Yes.
Yeah, Warzone was fucking badass.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Warzone the movie and comic, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't. It totally has nothing to do with the fact that Static X was on the soundtrack.
Well, that does help.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
No, I've actually enjoyed PARENTAL. I think
totally.
And I think his look, I think his voice. He seems a little thinner, but I don't think. I
short.
think more like in reality, that's probably more of what he would look like build wise.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Comic book characters always look quite a bit bulkier than they actually are. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's fantasy. It's superhero fantasy. You gotta have the over exaggeration. It's just like
for sure. That's half the point.
You gotta have the over exaggeration to get the point across. Otherwise, it looks boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, Barenthal to me is kind of I guess he's more of the Jim Lee Punisher War Journal type Punisher. You know, I can see him like donning the white headband and yeah.
Some white go-go boots.
Yeah, it's just a big belt with the white teeth on it and stuff. Oh yeah,
there was a time, and I think it was about Warzone when John Romita Jr. came over. That we put him in some like cool boots, that
like tactical gear here, and look a little
like
less
something Nancy
silly.
Sinatra would wear.
All right, guys. So $60 for both versions. You can get the black and white and the color. That's what you should do. You got a $10 digital version, which is awesome for our brethren and sisterin over in Australia because for some fucking reason the shipping costs absolutely hate Australia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Europe and Asia, parts of Asia are no cakewalk either. But yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
International, I mean, if you don't have a digital tier on a campaign, it just makes sense. It helps our overseas, especially Australia, down under, be able to read the book and pick it up and back the campaign. So
to be able to support the campaign and to be able to get the book, to be able to read it, Hockey. He's actually trying to start up doing distribution over in the land down under.
Good.
It can be cheaper to actually get physical books over to our people over there.
Well, we know there's a lot of fans, a lot of creators, a lot of people down under on that other upside down part of the world. But bless them, they're like some of the coolest people ever. I've yet to meet an Aussie that wasn't pretty cool. So,
yeah.
At least in this sphere,
right? All right. So black and white version is $30. The color version is $40. And the fan pack, $250.
Fanny pack.
That's a fanny pack, and you know it.
Yeah. Well, I want to hook you guys up with a fanny pack. I mean, they're
but this fanny pack has original artwork, so you should jump on this while you can, because that's a fantastic price for a piece of original artwork. And it's not digital. This is OG artwork, the done, penciled, inked, all that stuff directly on the board. So that's fucking rad, man.
Yeah, it's my heart and soul on a page, and you will get it. And then we also hook you up with you know, the black and white and the color version as well. So it's kind of like getting that featured tier of both books.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I noticed. There was a few campaigns where the original art tier was totally separate from the book. So you had to go back and get the book. You're like, okay, I want original art.
I mean, that seems kind of to me personally. That seems kind of silly. Like if
so
somebody's going to spend a bunch of money on like original artwork,
right? Just
like maybe they get like the book as well. I mean, that seems reasonable to me.
I think people who set it up that way was probably like more of an oversight, and they're like, oh, we'll throw original art, and they just forgot. Maybe I don't know.
Right.
But I was like, no, we you know, for one, I know I'm not Todd McFarlane, where this original art is like high top dollar or anything. So, you know, so I'm going to charge a bit, but I'm not going to charge, you know, ridiculous.
Charge what you're worth, man. You know, it's the first book, and you know,
it's also a gratitude to people. You know, like you get the, or if anybody invests in this, like, I'm going to throw in a bunch of thank you notes and like sketch drawings or something, you know, and it's just like basically going to go overboard because I'm like, dude, you're a hardcore fan. Like,
and
you take care
much
of those.
appreciated. I mean, especially when first starting out, those hardcore fans are, you know, they're lifeblood, man.
They're everything.
It feels good to know that there's somebody out there that cares that much. You know?
Well, and to be honest, like obviously I want this to do as well as possible, you know. No doubt about it. But like,
right.
You know, it's kind of one of those things. It's humbling to think that anybody wants what you're creating. You know, I believe in this 100%. I know everyone who gets it's going to love it. But I'm also like, people are actually excited.
People are picking this up. This is fucking awesome.
People are actually buying this shit.
Yeah.
I love it. Because again, this is 40 years in the making, you know. You know, I've been wanting to release a book my whole life, basically. So awesome. Because I was in bands for so long, comic books always took a back seat.
Right.
You know, being in a working band takes so much time and creative energy. I just don't have time for comic books. And then like I would do artwork, but it was for like posters and CD art. And it's like when I stepped back from music because of how aggressive it really was, and I have kids, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna miss my time with my kids. I gotta step away.
Right.
That's when I was like, but I'm a creative person. I got to be doing something.
Got to do something. Got to scratch that creative itch, man. Yeah.
And I was like, go back to your first love, which really was comic books. That was my first like real big creative jolt in life.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, we're doing it. And so here we are, 43 years old now, finally doing this thing. And I'm like, again, like I said, it's just humbling that people are excited about it, and that we're getting books to people. So.
You're creating you've created the story that you would read. You've created content that you would read.
Absolutely. You know? and that's my advice to anybody out there.
Yes.
You know, go after
100%.
Something that you would love to have, you know, whether it's music, comic books, whatever your art is, make something that because otherwise you're shortchanging your audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I always say to, you know, anyone as well. Create content that you would read, you know, make a comic book that you would read, create content on your YouTube channel that you would watch. You know, that's the best way to find your audience, you know, because chances are there's some other weirdos out there that are going to groove right along with you, you know. Just be honest and be true to yourself.
Well, you know, one I look at is Brian Pulido.
Ah, my dude.
I mean, that
is my homie right there. Polito's my dude. Every time I go to a convention, like we've been friends for a long time.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I remember picking up Evil Ernie back in the day.
Yeah,
at a comic book shop, and I'm like, it was kind of like we were talking about with the heavy metal thing or the Weapon X story, where you're like, this is a bit obscure. It's a bit hardcore underground, and I was like,
it's different.
That was Chaos Comics back then, but I thought Brian Pulido was the man. And then like now looking back, like he created kind of a pathway for independent comic books.
Oh yeah. He's
basically the idea was just like you said, like create stuff you would like, find your audience, and keep building upon that. And that's really, thank you, Jason, so much. I really appreciate that, brother.
Yeah. Both Feline says it looks fantastic. Yeah.
Thank Feline as well. Yeah, but that's what it's all about. Like your passion will come through if you really love what you're doing. And you got to, especially in this, because you're not going to, You know, you're not going to make a ton of money. And even if you did, it wouldn't happen overnight, you know. So
it's
you're
about building.
going to go through the grind. You best enjoy it.
Oh yeah. Well, I have an old DVD with a bunch of different interviews about from comic book artists about, you know, working in the industry.
Yeah.
And one of the things that always stuck out to me was Mark Silvestri's interview. And one of those things that he says is, you have to love this business. You have to love this work, because some days you're going to wake up and it's just not going to be there. You know, you have to love this, because, you know, some days it'll be great and it'll be firing on all cylinders and you'll be doing fine. And other days you'll wake up and you can't draw a stick figure. You can't do anything, you know.
It's a real thing.
You gotta work through it. You gotta grind through it, because it's not always gonna be, you know, easy and roses.
But if you don't have that passion for it, that grind will burn you up and chew, you know, spit you up and chew you out. So
you better love this.
Chew you up and spit you out. I'll screw up my sayings all night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and always remember what Jack Kirby said: "Comics will break you hot, kid.
Comics will break you hot, kid. Yeah.
Comics will break you hot, kid." You know, it's Stogie.
Brooklyn voice.
Yeah. Jason says, "I backed this book, and you should too." Yes, you reading this, back it.
Absolutely. Once again,
yes.
thank you, Jason, for backing. You're the man.
That's,
and as
that's
well,
another one of my dudes right there,
because that's another awesome book.
Yeah, that's my homie. I think Topicless is on his channel this coming week. This Tuesday, Topicless on Jason's channel. Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
Anything else you want to say about Unconditional Shove before we go ahead and wrap this up?
Nothing specific. I mean, I'll reiterate what I've been saying the whole show, which is basically like, I believe in this, but I also believe that you don't have to necessarily be like this diehard fan of horror anthologies to really enjoy this book. The story is fun. The artwork's good. It's like, it has, there's not a slow pace. It's well paced. Everything's exciting. So again, I believe in this 100% because I'm actually making it, but I'm like, how do I put that into words? You know, I just know that the entertainment value is what I've been going for, and very much what you were talking about. Make something you love. And this has been, I've thoroughly enjoyed creating this book from beginning to end, and look forward to making more volumes as well. So, and we have more ideas in the works. We just got to get this one done and out the door. So,
yeah, I guess. And when are you looking to fulfill this?
Well, best case scenario, early 2023.
Nice.
You know, I think if we hit some hiccups, you know, it might be into the spring of 2023, but
sure.
You know, not a huge timeline, and this isn't going to drag our heels because again, we are Broken Compass Comics. We're trying to end one, fulfill, and keep the momentum going. So
absolutely.
So there's a big focus to get Magnificent Bastards out. And then we'll have the big focus to get this one out. The artwork's nearly 100% complete. I was about to ask, what is how close are you to being done with the artwork? I have 15 more pages because I just finished inking 65 out of the 80. My colorist, I always joke that he's going to leap me here soon, which is very likely to happen because he's very fast. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's about to leap you.
Yeah, what you think I said?
Oh, I said leave you. I was like, oh,
like,
color is leaving you. No, I don't want to hear that.
Right, I want to share that information.
Yeah, leap you. Gotcha. Yeah, he's gonna overtake you in the pages.
No, he's gonna catch
fast.
up. He's super fast. Well, because his excitement level for working on these pages, like, so every email he sends me, he's just like, dude, those next 10 pages you sent me, you know, he's just going on and gushing, which invigorates all my enthusiasm to keep this going. And then he's also pouring a lot of himself into these pages. So yeah, this is like a real labor of love between the creative team, and it's going to be an awesome book.
What I love to hear,
people
man.
Get it. Yeah.
That I absolutely love to hear that. It being a labor of love, it always means that the story and the book itself is going to have that extra little bit of polish to make sure that it's just chef's kiss.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. First book I've ever put out. Yeah, I want it to be as
and you want to put out your best work. You want to put your best foot forward because you got skin in the game, you know. And that's the biggest thing about this scene over here is that everybody got skin in the game. Yeah, and they're putting their best foot forward.
And as long as you keep that at the forefront of your mind, you are definitely always doing that. And then, like I was saying, you know, the humbling idea that people actually want what you're putting out. Yep. It does give you that extra incentive to make it as good as possible, you know.
Like I said, man, make content that you would read. You'll find a bunch of other weirdos that'll fucking read that shit too. That's right.
So all you weirdos, check this book out. If you have not yet, please back it. Again, 100%. I know you'll be entertained and you'll enjoy it. So.
Awesome. Everybody, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Listen to the wise flying feline. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And Odin, thanks for coming to hang out, man.
Dude,
and, you know, feel free to come hang out and draw with us on topic lists on Tuesday if you want.
Yeah, what time on Tuesday?
What we usually do. You know, we just sit and draw and we talk about, you know, this kind of stuff. It's like hanging out in a comic shop, but also drawing and working on stuff.
Yeah, well, no, and I imagine you might have had this too, where it's like way back in the day, I had like a group of like metalhead friends, and we just get like really baked and like draw and like blast some music and hang out.
No, I have always been the only artist in my friend circle. Only recently did I encounter a friend that sort of drew, and then I mean obviously hanging out in this scene.
Sure.
You know, I've got all kinds of artist friends now, but yeah, I was always the only artist. Everybody else was a writer.
Yeah.
So I had all kinds of like scripts being thrown at me, and I was the only one that could draw.
I can't keep up with you guys.
Yeah. We need to find another artist here. But yeah.
No, I'd love to, man.
Always welcome to come hang out, dude. Always welcome.
Sweet.
All right, guys. We will see you guys later. Peace.
Night.